Ladies and gentlemen, very, very good afternoon from India, and welcome once again to the auditorium for our next session at the FSM Day 2 of the Global Conference. Today we had a very interactive and very interesting session in the morning, and now we are back with another very interesting and engaging session. This will be aligning skills of the maritime faculty to suit the future development needs. And we have an extensive lineup of speakers, all maritime experts from their own fields. And I would like to give you an introduction of each speaker one by one. But before that, I would like to thank all of you for engaging in our platform. And there's so many people who went and took selfie. In fact, so many people have gone and taken selfie with their families also. And I see some people have used their pets to take a selfie also. So that's going to be a huge kind of memento for all of you. And you can go on to the networking lounge and network with fellow industry professionals. Visit the Qatar Airways and the TNC and the Bernard Schulte and the OTG booths at the exhibition counter and the exhibition arena. And don't forget to write down your thoughts on the scribble wall. So it's been a huge, enjoyable day. We are enjoying as much as you are in bringing this session to you. And very important session we are going to have now. Lots and lots of hundreds of seafarers are there on the platform right now, and we expect you to put up your questions and your thoughts on the live Q&A session when each speaker speaks, and we will be giving it to the speakers and we'll try to address each and every question. So we would want to introduce one by one our esteemed panelists of today. We will start with none other than Mr. David Birwadkar. Can we have Mr. David Birwadkar's introduction, please?
David Birwadkar is presently working as Vice President heading Training and Assessment Department in the Great Eastern Shipping Company Limited, India's largest private sector shipping company. Having joined there in December 2006, David has a degree in mechanical engineering and thereafter completed his marine engineering training from Mumbai Port Trust. He began his career with the Shipping Corporation of India in 1983 as a junior engineer and rose up to the rank of chief engineer by 1995 in Wallins. His short career started with Wallum Limited in London in 1998 as technical superintendent, where he worked till October 2001. He joined Anglo-Eastern Shipmanagement as general manager in 2005 and was responsible in setting up the Bombay Technical Office. He was promoted to the post of fleet director and headed the India Technical Office till December 2006, where he joined the Great Eastern Shipping Company as vice president, a position he holds till now. Besides shipping, he is passionate about cricket. David has played club cricket both in Mumbai and London. TNC is proud to present David Birwadkar as a speaker at the FSM 2022.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Mr. David Birwadkar. Thank you so much, sir, for agreeing to speak at the FSM 22 conference. And the next speaker is again from the same company, Great Eastern, but he's again versatile in his own way. I would want to introduce to you Mr. Sunil Kumar of Great Eastern. Can we have his introductions, please?
Mr. Sunil Kumar has nearly 3 decades of experience in shipping. He's a marine engineer ex-DM18 1993 batch. After doing his graduation in marine engineering, he did his master's in mechanical engineering and subsequently he did his MBA from IIT Bombay. He's currently heading Training and Assessment Department of the Great Eastern Shipping Company Limited. Previously, he has worked as Vice President and Chief Technical Officer with GOL Offshore Limited and was a maritime surveyor and auditor with DNV. He has won the Best Technical Paper Award during his college days. This paper was subsequently published in Marine Engineers Review. He is a fellow of Institute of Marine Engineers and Chartered Engineer with Institution of Engineers. He is heading Technical Subcommittee of IMEI Mumbai branch and a member of Research and Training Committee of INSA. The Naval Connection is proud that Mr. Sunil Kumar is speaking at the FSM 2022.
Put your hands together for Mr. Sunil Kumar. He's going to bring us some valuable experience into this session. And he was a part of DNB as well. And taking this link and moving on to Mr. Ali Shehab, also from Kuwait. And then we would like to introduce Mr. Ali Shehab from DNV, please.
Ali Shehab is the DNV Global Director of Special Projects and Services. Before assuming this position in July 2021, he was the former acting Chief Executive Officer of the Kuwait Oil Tanker Company, KOTC, the maritime transportation arm of Kuwait Petroleum Corporation, after having serving there for almost 36 years in various positions of the company, including 7+ years as Deputy Chief Executive Officer, Fleet Operation, where he oversaw KOTC's oil tanker fleet operations, marine agency, and the main gas filling branches that supply domestic and industrial LPG to the whole of the state of Kuwait. He is a marine engineer, professionally educated at the South Tyneside College, North of England, UK, worked in KOTC vessels as a seagoing marine chief engineer from 1985 to 2001, after which he operated fleet vessels in the capacity of technical superintendent. He has 3 years' experience as site manager at Hyundai Heavy Industries, Ulsan, Korea from 2005 to 2007, overseeing the construction of the fleet new tankers. The Naval Connection proudly presents Ali Shehab as a speaker at the FSM 2022.
Big round of applause for Mr. Ali A.Shehab. A huge experience, a huge versatile experience, starting from training to maritime operations, agency, and also shipbuilding. I'm sure we are all waiting to hear about his experiences, and he's going to add tremendous value to this session. Our next speaker is from Singapore, Captain Himadri Ghosh. Can we have his
Having
introduction,
spent
please?
22 years at sea, of which 7 years were in command of VLCCs, Captain Ghosh finally hung his sea boots in 2004 when he came ashore as Marine Superintendent based in China, then to Hong Kong in a commercial role handling chartering and operations in the DPP business. He moved to Singapore in 2007, joining the largest ship manager in the world, again in a marine role, quickly rising to the position of the marine manager. In Singapore, Captain Himadri Ghosh earned an MBA in strategic management from Bradford School of Management while moving up the ranks. He took the compliance director's role in the same company, finally moving to MSI Ship Management as group head of training and compliance. The Naval Connection proudly presents Captain Himadri Ghosh as a speaker at the FSM 2022 Global Conference.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've got lots of people watching from Singapore as well, and this is going to be a learning experience for students who are watching us at this platform right now. And Captain Himadri Ghosh is going to bring a lot of value in training with his experience in compliance and in training. And now we have a very interesting participant, and from Tunisia. She is none other than Ms. Arbia Hlali, and Arbia is a doctorate and in PhD in maritime economics, and she's going to talk about new opportunities in logistics, and you can put in your questions, and there's a lot of emerging new opportunities where people can get employed. So I'm sure this is going to add value. Can we have Arbia's introduction, please?
Arbia Hlali holds a PhD in economic science and a master's degree in transport science and logistics. She has a master in quality management and a bachelor's degree in experimental science. She has been an assistant professor at University of Monastir and University of Sousse, Department Economics, where she taught entrepreneurship, where maritime transport exploitation, transport and location of activities, transport economics, entrepreneurship. Her current research interests maritime transportation, transport economics, port management, logistics and supply chain management, shipping and international trade, organizational culture, quality management and industrial management, econometrics and statistics, globalization, smart cities and sustainability, digital innovation, Internet of Things, Big Data Plus, maritime transport and supply chain. The Naval Connection proudly presents Arbia Hlali as a speaker at the FSM 2022.
Put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, for Arbia Hlali. I'm sure she can hear us from Tunisia. And then while we speak about her, I also want to now come back to our introduction of the moderator. I couldn't speak more about him because he actually doesn't need an official introduction. Captain Yadav is one of the most prominent figures in India and the global training fraternity. He has single-handedly led many sessions and he's the go-to person for all training and STCW related work. We've grown up with his mentorship, and we cannot speak. I can take one whole day to speak about Captain Yadav, but unfortunately we don't have a whole day. So what I'll do is I'm just playing a small brief introduction of what metal Captain Yadav is made out of. So can we have Captain Yadav's introduction, please?
Captain Mahesh Yadav is a first-class science graduate from T.S. Rajendra in the 1976 batch. He served with Shipping Corporation of India from 1976 to 1989 from cadet to master on almost all types of ships. During this period, he obtained an extra master's certificate in 1986. Since August 1999, he is the Director, Maritime Education and Training, FOSMA, looking after all the training institutes under the banner of FOSMA Maritime Institute and Research Organization, in addition to performing association functions. He has participated in all sessions at IMO for the revision of the STCW from 2007 to 2010. Captain Yadav is a chairman of STCW Implementation Committee in India, appointed by Director General of Shipping. In 2010, he was conferred with the National Maritime Day Award for outstanding contribution to maritime education and training. His vast theoretical knowledge as well as practical skills make him the undoubted, indefatigable mascot of maritime training. The Naval Connection proudly presents Captain Mahesh Yadav as a speaker of the FSM 2022.
Welcome, Captain Mahesh Yadav, sir. We couldn't have had a better moderator for this session, which talks about the training needs of the faculty members. Now, I would like to hand over this session to you, sir, and please take over.
Thank you, Captain Shaukat Mukherjee. Actually, I was impressed with the introduction. I didn't know that I did. All right, let's begin with the title of the session is Aligning Skills of Maritime Faculty to Suit Future Development Needs. And as you can see here, that we are indirectly addressing the seafarers training through empowerment, aligning skills, re-educating or aligning their skills of the maritime faculty towards the newly developing needs which we need in the seafaring profession as well as in the maritime industry. We have a good panel of 5 specialists, and I think to set the tone of this particular session, may I first invite Mr. David Birwadkar, Head of Great Eastern Institute of Maritime Studies, Lonavala, and as he goes on with this topic, because at present he is taking care of the pre-sea training of the nautical as well as the engineering students at Great Eastern Institute, and that being the forerunner to the seafaring profession. I think it's better we start with this first, and then we will have interactions, we'll have question answers, and also we'll have the opinions from the other panelists on the subject. Mr. Birwadkar, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Captain Yadav, and many thanks to Shaukat Mukherjee for inviting me to be part of FSM22, and I'm really delighted to be here. So good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to all the other panelists, and I would like to start by sharing my presentation so that you can. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So basically, that's a topic: aligning skills of maritime faculty to suit future development needs. And as an introduction, let's look at what's not okay or what can be improved in that sense. So once we have that, I'm sure then we can take it forward accordingly. So India contributes to 10 to 12% of world seafarers living significant untapped potential. I mean, a lot of efforts can be made to ensure relatively untapped potential. Significant amount of energies and resources should go in the direction. Apart from, of course, honing the skill sets, it would effectively place us in the few of the nations who are already ahead in this sector. The next point is the market is currently dominated by countries like Philippines, Indonesia, Myanmar, obviously due to their higher expertise and lower costs. So as I mentioned, the market needs to be covered, and we will be discussing how we can improve that in subsequent slides. At present, Indian MTIs do not even feature in the top 25 institutes of maritime studies, and which is a big loss or a big setback for us. So no doubt, I'm sure that by implementing some of the steps which I'm going to speak about, and also some things which we are all aware we need to do, I think we can definitely reach somewhere up there. So let's see how we can do that. As I said, India has the potential of becoming one of the top seafaring nations with world-class training, education, and research, which can be brought about to improve the system. And we need to be globally competitive, so that for that we need to have world-class institutes, so that then we can accordingly teach and improve the skill sets of the PC cadets, and then they can be competitive and also preferred the world over. We had the pandemic recently, and obviously we know that has set back the training by a big margin, because ultimately we all do accept that physical training is much more effective than online training. But of course, newer innovations have been brought about, which has made the training gap between online and offline to a large extent. The gap has been reduced, but we have certain restrictions and issues which we have faced during the pandemic, and which I need to highlight, because they are also detrimental to the kind of training we impart to the students. So we all know that cadets from remote areas, they have insufficient computer equipment, because they are either coming from poor backgrounds, or they are not having the kind of infrastructure to buy such expensive equipment. There's major challenges with the internet speed and connectivity, which again becomes a hampering issue, because you cannot study for a lengthy period of time online without having the proper equipment, and need full concentration, obviously, to study the subject being taught. There is a lack of awareness of the faculty, basically, because remote teaching is a very specialized kind of thing, and it requires you to be very aware of how to use the tool for remote teaching. And in fact, we also had a big learning lesson in our Great Eastern Institute when this first came about, because we found that the students had not grasped even 30% of what was being taught. And then we had to hone up the skills. We had to make them undergo some rigorous training online, so that they were aware of how to go about the training, how to capture the attention, how to make the students concentrate more, because online concentration is a bit more difficult than in the classroom. So all of that does require attention and has to be done. Then we also find that different faculties of the same college itself have varying methods of teaching. So sometimes the students are a little confused whether we have to use this type or that type. So that also has to be discussed in meetings between the faculty members, and also look at how to use a uniform methodology of teaching, so that it is more effective. Then again, there is a lack of smooth transition of syllabus from classroom to online, as prescribed by IMU and DGS, and again that is a little hampering. Remote assessment of candidates becomes one of the challenges. We know proctoring for such a huge number of candidates and other issues which are there, including accessibility, internet, etc., can cause issues. Now, going forward, we'll have to use IT towards the hybrid learning in the future, which means basically blending of offline and online classes. So these are some of the issues which we need to look at. Then how do we look at areas to promote and develop maritime faculty, which is how to promote and develop the maritime faculty. We have elaborated that in subsequent slide. These are just the various points which we will be elaborating on. So faculty development programs, continuous education, research-linked career progression, faculty exchange program, and leverage. So induction of new technologies, basically, what are the new technologies which you are using? New age simulators, obviously, and we know simulators can be pretty effective to teach the students, because it can substitute for the actual on-the-job training, and simulators can be very effective. They are used in a big way in airline industry and other industries, and that can really compensate for the physical training, which is sometimes not possible to be done. So new age simulators can play a big part. Then 3D models, obviously, we know that they also play a big part in such training, and that can be used very, very actively. Innovative methods, including audiovisual aids, which should be used, that can also improve the training, and it will be in line with the worldwide used training technology, not only in marine, but other fields also. We have to look at a lot from industry input, because there are case studies to be looked at, there are issues which are coming up, then there are newer regulations to be followed. So we have to green green effect, and whatever else we need to use for changing over from hydrocarbons to other fuels and other technologies for running the ship. So all of that inputs is very, very important. And obviously there has to be continuous discussion, feedback, and evaluation of the training being done by experts within and outside the institute, so that will also help in enhancing the training and improving the quality. Similar, obviously, as I mentioned, has been used in a big way. So definitely, this is something which we can look at. And of course, in our institute, we use simulators for both deck and engine side. So we have a whole full mission bridge simulators. We have ECDIS simulators. We have main engine simulators. So all of that definitely help in improving it, improving the quality of training being imparted. And we are doing it even at the pre-sale level. We are not waiting for the students to go out to sea and then teach them at a slightly higher ranks. As I said, aiding machinery through 3D models, training of 3D models, it gives them a little bit of practical inputs and they can visualize how it will actually be on the ship. So we use 3D model for main engine, generator engines, boiler, etc. And I think that also has been very successfully used in other countries, and also in a big or small way, we have started using it in India also. Audiovisual aids, of course, we know it's more effective always when you show videos and some self-devised and prepared videos, because that can give them that effectiveness, which sometimes just blabbering in the class cannot do it. And as I mentioned, seminars and other lectures, or even if you have the company sailing staff come and give some lectures based on the experiences on the ship, that also help a lot in improving the quality of training being done. As I said, feedback and discussion and continuous evaluation is a very important thing, and we can only improve by constantly evaluating and looking at our self-introspection, that whether I'm teaching is right, whether the students are good enough. So the feedback from the student itself is also very important when we look at all of these aspects, because that really gives you a continuous way of improving your the training methodology. Finally, the conclusion: the future of maritime industry can be nurtured with world-class faculty, again, who are constantly updated. And because the challenges are going to be there, the requirement is going to be dynamic. It cannot be that you can use age-old technology for teaching. So we'll have to equip ourselves. But frankly, for that, we need motivated faculty. We cannot have faculty who are aged or who have left the sea profession and then they're doing it because they have nothing better to do. So we need motivated faculty who are driven or passionate about teaching, and that's very important. Technology needs to be harnessed. We have to have infrastructure, because unless we finance the infrastructure and have the latest equipment in your training institute, you will not teach the students what they really need to do. And be virtual. I mean, we have to start using the latest technology like simulators, 3D, virtual reality, and other things which can really enhance the training, make it more effective, more practical, and the student will find it more interesting to grasp the curriculum and also how to operate ships. I think that's basically what I had to tell in my 6 minutes allocated. So I hope I've been my time, and I hope I have made some effect on whatever I had to tell about the requirements. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Birwadkar. I will probably, to begin with, I have one or two questions for you. You're heading quite a modern training institute. And the first question that comes to my mind is, particularly being a pre-sea training institute for nautical and engineering students or cadets, handling subjects as diverse as seamanship and navigation and marine engineering and electrical and electronic and probably the most difficult of the whole lot, maintenance and repairs. How did you get over these limitations that you just described during the total lockdown period when nobody was permitted to come to the institute at all?
Yeah. So basically, I think we had some faculty who had never left the institute. So they were staying there in-house. So they had gone there, they prepared videos of the actual practical training being done. So they're like dismantling an equipment or teaching on the simulator. We made some videos of that, which were portrayed during the online classes which were done, and the video is shown concurrently and explained. This is how you open thing, this is how you troubleshoot, etc. So videos were actually taken in the premises by the faculty who were present there, who never left the premises. Since they had a family, they were always in the premises during the lockdown period also, as they considered that as a residence. So that's how we try to mitigate. But again, as I said, it can be only a small percentage of the 100% effectiveness what we get. So what we have done later on, we have called the students back to augment the training by giving them extra practicals as and when they've come down, if they've come down in groups or even individually. And also on the ship, we have asked the seniors to teach some things which we felt were not covered up by covering that up. And the DLP coordinators which we had, they were monitoring all of that and making sure that whatever was the lacuna was tried to be made up. But again, I'll be very frank and candid. I don't think we have covered up 100% of what has been done. These 2 or 3 batches have suffered a bit, and we are trying at every step to make them up to par with the other batches who have had the entire physical training. But whatever maximum we can do, we have tried to do under the circumstances.
Thank you, because at our own institutes, we have found that some specific subjects as navigation, chat work, somewhere some outlines or drawings or sketches and things like that is concerned, it does not come as easy as it can be using traditional methods. And similarly, maybe the engineering drawings must be having the same issue as far as the engineering training is concerned. You also mentioned that Indian MTIs do not feature in top 25 institutes in the world. What is the source of this?
I got it from the net actually, because we had done a little bit of study and we got to, from there. And I had also spoken to a few leaders in the trainings, like Captain Chawla, etc. And I spoke to them. But I'll tell you what is a big issue. Like, we don't have something like in the engineering, we don't have a 4-year course, because as Captain Chawla says in his word, and I'm quoting him because he's a doyen in this training. He says we have assembled engineers. We don't build them up from, because they are already done a degree in mechanical. So then they come and then we give them a short training of 7-8 months, and then we send them on the ship. So it's not like we're grooming them right from the beginning, where we are building the foundation. So I think that's maybe one of the few reasons. We can look at other reasons. There are many other reasons. As we know, shipping is no longer a preferred profession in India. People are looking at other lucrative trades and professions. So all of this also multiplies the issues where probably our training institutes are not the best, because again, the faculty what we have, and since probably we don't pay what should be the on par salary with the industry, so we are getting people who have already done their stint out at sea, or they're closer to retirement, or even after they retire on the ship, they become faculty, so they are less motivated. So maybe all of these are contributing factors, but I'm only speaking about a few. There are very many which we can talk about. There are a lot of hurdles, and we can spend a day or even few days before we can finally realize that what is wrong, how can we correct that.
All right, one last question before I go to the next speaker. Mention something about remote assessment. Very recently, DigiShipping has launched a system by which the written examination for the certificate of competency exams are being conducted remotely and being monitored remotely. You have any opinion or any comment to make on that, or how successful do you think it is as of now?
Well, I can only say the proof of the pudding will be in eating it, because ultimately it remains to be seen how successful it can be. They spoke about it, and I think when they spoke about it, covered all the aspects of the remote assessment, including your monitoring and whatever else is required. And I thought it seemed pretty robust. But I am yet to hear from the candidate if they had faced any issues, or from the invigilators whether they had any issues, when they were actually the exams will be conducted. So maybe we need to discuss in forum and see how it has been effective, because very early to conclude whether it has been good or not. But the process which was explained, I thought it looked very good.
Yeah, because what we gather is that the percentage of candidates appearing for the COC examinations, opting for this mode is very, very negligible as of now.
Yes, because I think there is a lot of apprehension, obviously, because ultimately, if they are not able to, do well, then it becomes the one attempt has failed. So they would rather wait and give the physical exam, which is tried and tested, and then get over it, because ultimately, everybody, there's a reluctance to change, and unless somebody else becomes the guinea pig and says, okay, no, it went very well, nobody wants to take that chance or risk.
Thank you, Mr. Birwadkar. I think I'll come
Thank
back to
you.
you on the second round. In the meantime, I invite Mr. Sunil Kumar, who is the head of training and assessment department of Great Eastern Shipping Company, and his title is continued professional development after passing out from the PC Training Institute.
Yeah,
Thank
hi.
you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Captain Yadav. Thank you, Captain Sokat, for giving me this platform to talk about now post-sea training. I mean, Mr. David has covered pre-sea part of it. The challenges further crops up when people go to sea, because there they have to actually perform on the ship. And training a seafarer who is already at sea, who is earning, and they know that they have got all the prerequisite as per administration in hand, and giving them a training is really a challenge, because first of all they feel that, okay, this is my leave time and I must not be bothered during my leave time for any training, first of all. Then the thing is, the technology is developing like anything. In last 1 decade, or I would say last 2 decades, technology advancement is really jump. Digitalization, then regulatory framework. I mean, all of it is really pouncing on the ship owners. And if we do not keep up the pace with the advancement of regulatory bodies and advancement of technology, trust me, we are going to fail miserably. So post-sea training is very crucial. If we do not keep up to the pace of the advancement, we are going to fall flat. So this is the biggest challenge that post-sea training people who are into post-sea training, they are facing. Another area which I feel is which needs to be addressed. I mean, we are talking about smart ship, intelligent engine, smart ship, intelligent engine. But for working on those smart ship and intelligent engine, where are the people? I mean, people need to be smarter. The faculty need to be intelligent. So the focus now has to move to make them smarter, make them more tech savvy, right? So our intention is always to focus on the training of the trainer. Now there is one course, training of the trainer, and we feel that, okay, if we do that, that is going to cover everything. No, sorry, that won't help. Basically, idea is that now we have to really keep up to the pace with the technology advancement, training them. I mean, the bridging of those gaps, which is left with STCW courses only, that is very crucial. Nowadays, there are a lot of things which has come up, like with the help of technology, again, towards training as well, like simulator training, remote training through fantastic learning management system. All those things have to be put into use for continued professional development for the trainers. So basically, now we are looking at a few areas in particular where people can be sent for training. Is like, suppose now we are installing scrubber, we are installing ballast water treatment system. The first lot of people who are getting trained are the chief engineers and the second engineers or engineers on board, or same way any seafarer on board. At the same time, we have to have those training videos, etc., shared with the faculty also. You would agree that most of our faculties are now aging, and because of that, that learning, I shouldn't say disability, but yeah, the agility has come down. So digital skill learning is something which we have to really be focusing on. Remote operation is something which is the in thing now. I mean, in past 2 years, we have done a lot of operation remotely. Even the dry dock we have done remotely. So the
Sunil
technology.
Kumar, I thought you had a presentation, or you're going to
I'm
speak
going
that by
to
heart
speak.
itself.
Yeah. I'll be speaking.
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. So we have to concentrate on uplifting the trainers' knowledge using those future technology. I mean, we have to create such environment wherein the people who are our current trainers, the post-sea trainers, have to upskill their capability and learn newer technology. I mean, how to go about it? Of course, this is a big debate going on because again, the attitude and the age profile is coming in the way. The youngsters who are getting trained on the ship, on the newer technology ships, autonomous ships, intelligent engines, those chief engineers, those navigating officers who are working on the newer technology have to somehow share their experience with this faculty, or this faculty have to time go on board, work on the ship, groom themselves, develop that critical thinking ability. So those things are going to be the in thing. The seafarers who are on leave, they have to be called in for imparting training. Those who are interested, of course. There should be good incentive for that. Without incentive, nobody is really going to uh, uh, devote their time, because they feel that they are on leave and there is no need for me to really work on upbringing of those post-sea guys. I'm already earning. Why should I spend further time into that? So basically, the time has come wherein we have to really take advantage of the newer technology of learning uh, to learn the newer developments that are happening in the industry. Currently, training is available all around. From anywhere we can impart training. We are, for the past 2 years, we are giving remote training, and trust me, it is going very well. There is no doubt in that we have compromised on the training when it comes to post-sea training, because I understand what Mr. David has mentioned, that pre-sea training is a lot more things have to be shown practical for the first time, whereas in post-sea they have seen the ships. So now it is only the transfer of information. So they have seen the things in practical way. So there is absolutely no issues on making them understand the basics of it. So the future learning, the learning which is for the automation, towards newer technology, towards regulatory framework, it is very much possible through remote learning and better interaction between ship and shore. And those digital skills are very inherently required with the future trainers. So these are things which I thought that is required for professional development of the trainers of current era. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Sunil. Kumar. Listening to your points that you put forward, I think I have just one or two very small questions coming up in my mind. One is, given the turnaround time of present day ships and also being online, the rate of internet charges added up with the rest period requirements, how successful do you think this remote training is given on a scale of, say, 1 to 5?
See, I understand the ship is always on a hectic run. It becomes really difficult for earlier era where we had 40 people on the ship and people could be trained. I mean, some people could devote their time. In today's scenario, the seniors, the officers, they have got other obligations like towards ships operation. So they don't have time. But we have good LMS platform. Trust me, we have fantastic LMS platform nowadays available. We are also using one of them. We have in that you have your personal platform, like how you have on Netflix and this thing, what movie you are watching. There is a trend that you can see what you have watched and what is recommended for you. Something is being done on those newer LMS platforms. There is a digital library. So there we are uploading a lot of study material, training material, those who are really interested. And we are telling only the seniors on board to motivate their subordinates to go with the, go log in there, work on those LMS platform where there is a big digital library, already assigned courses are there. There are self-paced CBTs, like you can read in your time and with your liberty of, I mean, free time, whatever you have. And those interactive training videos are there. So these things are making like taking off the burden of the senior members, senior management team on board a little bit towards the training. which is imperative because the turnaround time, as you rightly said, is very short now. Number two, you talked about the cost of internet and all. Definitely, it is there, but I cannot ignore that. But it has substantially reduced. You would agree with me that over a period, last 1 decade, what were the charges which we were paying towards the communication, etc., is much lesser now. And with data compression technology in place, it is encrypted and very short bandwidth, etc., is required for running those LMS platforms. So I think, I mean, as such, this is, I feel that this is just an investment. We have to do it, and the cost of internet charges should not come in the way. Thank you.
Thank you. And one common thing which was there in the presentations made by Mr. Birwadkar and yourself is that the maritime faculty being in the higher age group, to upgrade them to suit the not only the present but also the future needs. And coupled with the younger mariners not wanting to come
to ashore
to the training institutes now, where do we make the two things meet?
True. It's a very relevant question. It is really something which is bugging all of us. Trust me for that. I will be lying if I say that it is not a problem and it should not be looked into. It's a real challenge in front of us. At the same time, having said that, I mean, personally speaking, age is not the really criteria. It is the motivation level. What Mr. David also mentioned, it's not related to the age. I have seen some people in the industry, I don't want to name right now because other will feel offended, but they are in the mids of 70s and they're yet learning. They're keeping themselves so much abreast of everything that you cannot beat them. I mean, when you attend those webinars, seminars, you find them, they are absolutely up to date. So it is not the age, it is the interest. And younger generation today is the bigger challenge, actually. Though they are fast learners, but then there is no incentive for them to come ashore and impart training. Currently, what we have to really look at is how to manage the remuneration part, like of the training fraternity. I mean, it is seen as like, okay, low paid as people, like the whole training. So moment we bring in some kind of better compensation, probably we will be able to attract better talent for training as well. Talent is in abundance, there is no doubt about it. But only thing that we have to attract them to come and join the training institutes or the pre-C training colleges.
I think Mr. A.Shehab has put his hand up. Would you like to come in, sir?
Yeah, please. You're mute, sir, Mr. Ali.
Thank you very much, Mahesh and Sunil. And what I wanted to add here is basically we differentiate between one of the two. Is it a profession or is it a job? Now, profession has unlimited appetite and 24/7. Job is what is the working time that you have in your country? Is it from 9 till 5, that 8 hours, or that 9 hours, and that's it? They go home and they switch off. So I think just wanted to share this thought with you while you were trying to explain it. Now, in an organization, or this is where I'm going to touch on later, actually, in my talk about this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Thanks for sharing your thoughts.
All right. I think that's actually the time for Mr. A.Shehab to come in. So you can just continue with where you left off.
Yeah. So perfectly fine. I mean, we talked about how to go about bridging those gaps of pre-C and post-C, first of all, and then attracting talent which is of today's era, like the boys who are really up to date, because they're fast learners, but then they are not willing to come ashore for in the training arena. Those smart lot.
Mr. A.Shehab is the Global Director of Special Projects and Services, DNVAS, Dubai, and the topic is Innovation in Training Technologies. And may I request Mr. Shehab to please come in and present his thoughts.
Thank you very much, Mahesh, and the Naval Connection for allowing me the opportunity to be with you today. There is a saying that I would like to share with you, and it says, spending quality time and discussions with the right people is priceless. And that's basically why I believe, talking about myself and others, being here is really to have this this opportunity to exchange our thought. And it's our responsibility towards the industry that we should share the knowledge, because this is the capital that we have with us. Now, in this era that we are living, everybody would agree that the greatest risk that we are experiencing at the moment is the climate change. And the climate change is the catalyst at the moment for everything that evolves around us. And in this regard, as far as the International Maritime Organization and the maritime industry is busy with fitting and getting the right regulation in place. And that's where regulation becomes an important element. And it's evolving very fast. So you are aware of pre-COP meetings and post-COP meetings, and how the industry is resonating when we consider the maritime industry, and then how the regulations are actually evolving in this regard. Now, when the regulation is evolving, what happens here? There become a pressure for new technology to take place. And for new technology to take place, you will need, for sure, to utilize digitalization, as well as it becomes important for the research and development to take place. Now, research and development, you cannot do it without having the funding. And this is one of the biggest dilemma today. And I've been listening to the panelists of yesterday discussions. And funding is not just as far as getting the to assist the technological transition and the energy transition. However, funding is a problem as well to get the industry fit with its right human resource. So we have regulation. Regulation brings in a need for new technology. New technology brings in the need for digitalization use, and digitalization use also followed by the R&D, and R&D needs funding, and then what completes it all, it's actually the human resource. Now, the human resource, what you need here, and what my colleagues have been discussing yesterday and today, is you need to retain and you need to develop. This is a very challenging, it's not a new challenge, but this is a continuous challenge. And by the way, it's in every industry. We just have to work on it. Now, in this regard, what do I see here is basically when you look into the industry regulatory framework, it's based on 4 pillars. Pillar number 1 is SOLAS. Pillar number 2 is MARPOL. Pillar number 3 is STCW. And then pillar number 4 is MLC 2006. Now, when we look into the academic and education side, that's where it comes STCW into the game. Now, STCW is based on compliance only. So if today I want to go and work on a ship, all I need is just go and see what is the requirement, get complied with it, and therefore achieve all those requirements, get the certification, up your, to join the ship. Now, when you join the ship, you're faced with another hurdle in the way. And that hurdle is how the industry actually operates. The industry is risk-based rather than compliance-based. And risk-based is very, very different. So if you are, let's say, whichever commodity of shipping you are in, and let's say in the tanker business, and then when you do this, you do the oil majors inspection and you go through it, and then what do you find? It's all based on risk, and the risk is based on the incidents records that has been happening in the past. And that's where the difference actually comes into the play. And that's where we need to look into how today we are managing our human resource. Really, we have to look at it in a different way, and we have to develop it. And that's the I foresee this is the main issue here. Plus that the industry, with age, with time, there's a lot of change that happened, and because of this natural development and evolution onshore, offshore that's happening, globalization, and then sort of this before this ship-shore connection was limited. Now ship-shore connection is highly available in every corner, and then people sort of updated with info about family. Before there was no news, good news, but now no, he is continuously connected, he is continuously up to date. But with what is he updated with? How the ship and the shore are exchanging information. And that's where now we're missing the opportunity of maximizing our digital ability into the empowering of what we need really from the people on board the ship. And in this regard, what has been also changed over time is basically this branding process. Branding processes no longer exist. What I mean here, this legacy, i.e., I don't want to mention name of companies, but whenever you meet somebody, which company you've been working with, that's what we used to do in the past. Now, this branding process, which is culture inherited and driven, and then from that culture, you could see that, oh, if somebody came from there, I am more than happy really to employ him. Why? Because I know what's the regime of sort of grooming and preparation of their people is so high, and therefore anytime I can employ anybody from that organization. That somehow is fading away, and there is reason is because it's commercial driven, and people just fitting, and it's also because the industry, the way sort of it went through that, let's say, fast growing, i.e. before the financial crisis, if you imagine in the early 2000 up to 2008 and post 2008 until today, and then you could see this growth of the world tonnage, and then the need for rushing in the maximum number of people, and then that gap was created. The commercial pressures has led into so many different areas of change. Now, so what I feel here is that we need to maximize our effort on the digital connectivity between the ship and shore, and then we need actually to change from the idea of training. We have to shift into something more of the learning and education. Why do you need learning and education? It's very, very important. Training, refresher training, again, it fits into the compliance, whereby the learning and education fits into more of an understanding. And what do we need to understand today? So whether it is onshore or it is offshore, i.e. in the office or somebody on the ship. Now, the guy who's in the office and who's dealing with the human resource, for example, it's the personnel department. Now, with the personnel department, if anyone, I'll just give you an example. Anyone who's running people, managing people on the ship, and this person has no emotional intelligence training or education or learning, he is not fit to run the job. Maybe people will disagree with me, but that's where it creates problems. When people, you're trying to retain people here and develop them. So the retention part needs a special kind of approach. And that special kind of approach needs me, i.e. the person who's managing, needs me to be fit for that task. So therefore, we need actually to shift from this compliance approach into more of a risk approach. So therefore, the risk approach requires that for every individual, they need to have this emotional intelligence chip fit in their head, as well as number two, what you need also, you have to have a basic training on the this technology part. A lot of people are not fit enough to deal with the, for example, cybersecurity subject. And this is growing matter, and it's becoming a greatest risk now. Now, again, learning and education in this area, as well as what you need is to have a basic learning and education on the what we call risk management. When you have your ship staff, senior management, and when you have your office staff, they are not understanding how risk matter is to be dealt with. They are good in running, like say, situations, but in really, how do you look into risk matters, and then how do you sort of put them into the place and then sort of manage them? That's a totally different area of managing the business. And then I will go into another area whereby we need to educate ourselves about mentoring and about coaching, and that mentoring and coaching from shore side, as well as mentoring and coaching on board. You have to have your senior staff more, sort of made capable into that. There is another
A.Shehab, I think I'll have to come back to you on these topics in the second round. So let me allow me to please go to the next speaker, and we'll come back to you on these topics such as.
So do you want me to stop here, or you want me? Yeah, do you want me to stop here, or you want me to continue?
No, we'll go to the next speaker, and then we'll later on come back to you.
No worries, because there are other points which I can share with you later on.
We'll come back to you, sir.
Because I don't have my timer on, so I remember you said there will be a timer, but I cannot see any timer on my screen. Okay. Thank you.
I think as Mr. A.Shehab has very rightly pointed out, that STCW is a matter of compliance. What you know, what you do, what you learn, and then you impart that training. However, the entire approach has to be risk-based, and every training program has to be planned as per that approach, and not just imparting whatever was learned by those teachers 20 years ago. With this, I think we are still quite okay. May I invite Captain Himadri Ghosh. He's the Group Head, Training and Compliance, MSI Shipmanagement Singapore, dealing with safety management system, incident reporting, and training. Captain Ghosh, please go ahead.
Thank you, Captain Yadav. And thanks to the sponsors and organizers of this conference, especially a big note of thanks to Captain Mukherjee. Having organized a couple of similar conferences in the last couple of years, I know what it takes to prepare such a conference, and the back-end work, extreme back-end work it needs to make this a success. So I would just like to share. I have sort of simplified the topic a little bit from my point of view, and just wanted to share a few thoughts in that sense. So what I would like to call it is developing a future fit workforce. And the point of view I'm looking at it is from the business point of view, from my business. What does the business, what does my business want? Usually all the post-C training that we have talked about till now, pre-C is of course a regimented kind of training. Post-C training is definitely fragmented, as you know, in the last discussion, Captain Halbi had pointed out, is definitely fragmented, mainly because of the reason that the business decide what it wants. The funding comes from these businesses for this training. Yeah, and companies, generally the company's decision-making process are designed to steer investments towards initiatives which show immediate and tangible results. So there is a little bit of short-termism there. Companies are not looking at what the seafarer is, what kind of seafarer they will need in 20 years of time. So they will fund that kind of thing. So within those constraints, we have to work and deliver tangible results as such. In that respect, so while I was working, preparing for this talk, I did a little bit of a research and found a very interesting paper that was published a while ago called Holistic Approach for Human Resource Management in Industry 4.0. Yeah, it's been published peer-reviewed paper, written by Dr. Fabian Heklua and et al. And it talks about the competencies that is required on a global basis, in the global industry. Yeah, not only shipping, on a global basis, the competencies required to develop the present workforce. Basis the fact of the industrial revolution, basis the fact that the industrial revolution 4.0 is taking place now. As we know, the industrial revolution 1 was the steam engines, number 2 was the electric engines, number 3 was the electronics and information technology and how it helped production. And now we are going through this industrial revolution 4, which basically fuses the third generation industrial revolution with physical, digital, and the biological spheres all together. And during this process, I found they have actually, this team has actually categorized this future needs of training into 4 areas, 4 sets of competencies. Yeah, technical, which has 6 sets of competencies. Then there is methodological, which has 8 sets. There is social, with 8 sets of competencies, and there is personal. Now, these 28 sets of competencies, out of these, I have just highlighted a few. If you see, I have made a few of them bold, which I thought would be more relevant to our seafaring future needs. Yeah, state-of-the-art knowledge that we are all talking about. Yeah, are we really training people for this state-of-the-art knowledge? The exponential rate that things are changing now. In the last yesterday's talk by the Honorable Consul of Norway, he said about Cochin shipyard building autonomous vessels. How many people are actually trained to run the autonomous vessels in our industry? Yeah. Then there is a technical skills. Technical skills, not in per se the sense of technical skills that of course our seafarers have, but the technical skill, such comprehensive technical skill which will help them to move from the operational level to a more strategic thinking level. Yeah. Then there is of course understanding IT security. This is of course a must do now. Cannot do without that. There is, in the methodological set of competencies, there is the entrepreneurial thinking, whether the seafarer himself is thinking as a businessman, as the business he is running. Is he thinking whatever he is doing, whether he is thinking in that sense? Yeah. Conflict solving. It is not enough just to do my job anymore. In a more am I doing it in an efficient manner? Communication skills, of course. Transfer knowledge to stay relevant in the job, doing the job. They should be willing to transfer. Skills, of course, also
this is not coming clear enough.
Is it better now?
Just try again.
No, I think you have to restore that previously what you had faced. In the beginning, some echo was coming. Same thing is happening now. Maybe disconnect the headphone and reconnect.
We are unable to hear Captain Ghosh.
Hi, Captain, sir. Hi, Captain, sir. Sir, can you re-again your login? Can you, once you disconnect and can open your link again?
I will suggest Captain Yadav, we can move on to the next speaker while the tech team checks with him.
Yes, fine. Captain Ghosh, we have to interrupt here and go to the next speaker by the time this is sorted out. And now may I invite Ms. Arbia Hlali, Doctor of Economic Science from Tunisia. She'll be talking about technological developments in ports and logistics. Ms. Arbia, are you there?
Yeah, I am here, yes.
Yes,
Captain
you may
Himadri
please.
has to stop sharing first.
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
you may please share your presentation and start, and we'll go back to Captain Ghosh later on. You may please start. Arbia, you may please start.
Okay, thank you very much for your hard work and for this organization. I'm glad today to be with you in this event. So today I will speak about new opportunities in the port sectors and logistics, especially in the technical development in port and logistics. So technological development in port and logistics can be organized as the technology innovation in seaport and shipbuilding industry, and the digital transformation in seaport and shipping industry and its application. And this work will focus on smart ports especially. So the development in maritime and technological development, it's massive over time. We speak about wait just a minute. Regularity obligation is to respect the environment, and the rise in fuel prices requires a continuous innovation, and the contribution of the digitalization has been reflected in changes in ships and ports modifying as much the management of tolls, the work of workers and logistics. Generally, we can summarize the innovation in seaport and shipbuilding industry in three axes: innovation and naval, in the axis of innovation and naval technology, for example, containerization, the innovation in the phenomenon of high speed, and the new concept of green ships. Also the innovation and port facilities, the adaptation of port facilities to high speed, the adaptation of terminal and gigantism and containerization. And the third axis is innovation in the organization organization of the maritime transport. For example, the hub of and spoke, the organization of world trade by large stevedore and port operators, etc. So the digital transformation in seaport and shipping industry used so many technologies, which are the main are robotics, intelligence, artificial intelligence, autonomous vehicles, Internet of Things, blockchain, big data, and virtual reality. And all these technologies has many impacted on the port logistics and other in all the function of seaport and maritime industry in general. So also they have many benefits. For example, the importance of speed response, recuperation, organization change, build organization digital, continuous and digital focus, etc. There is many benefit from the digital transformation in seaport sector. And all time we speak about innovation. Engineering and research people, they don't stop to search innovation, because at any time, at any step or state they find a new added value. So they don't stop to find a promoted place in the transport market on the future. The real challenge today relates to the development of infrastructure adapted to the commissioning of the autonomous transport. Communication and awareness raising work is to be planned to reassure users the arrival of vehicle automation. So we speak today about smart port evolution. It was in the past an industrial or logistic centers, and today a smart digital port which is connected with a different technology. So this is the evolution of seaport in generally. So smart ports deploy new applications that adapt infrastructure to climate change and demographic pressure and ensure the safety and security in the port area, and more particularly in the field of cybersecurity. The green port to reduce greenhouse gases and improve air quality, and set up valuation programs on industrial platform of the circular economy and industrial ecology. So generally, the smart port services nowadays is connected like this by the information and communication technology, ICT. So all the functions in and all the operations in the port sector are connected with different tools, which make the job more complicated or more complex for the workers and for the people that have moderate diplomas. So if we're focusing in the human element, so the question is the digital future will create a new opportunity for maritime workers, is yes or no? So if yes, how? If no, how? And we must find solution, of course, because in academic, as academic people, we speak about theory all the time and we do research, but in the reality, the practical case is more complex. To speak is easy. So the complexity of smart or logistic process need to train in different occupational level and design adequate learning environments. So to have or to get a resource human with soft skills in maritime sector, we must promote recruitment and skills development. Maritime Workforce Committee create in collaboration with the human resource and skills development and with the maritime industry, a maritime sector manpower committee to support activity design to understand and meet the human resource needs of this sector. Also, the maritime recruitment and training collaborate with educational institution and the maritime industry to develop and implement a plan that will generate interest and enthusiasm of careers in the maritime industry. And for the career path, collaborate with provinces, industry, maritime, and educational institution to prepare a plan to a long-term image at meeting the training needs of the industry. So this for the human resource. Can I to conclude? So innovation in the field of naval technology have inevitable impact on port morphology, on the organization of the port industry, and on the organization of trade flows in the world. The maritime industry is now talking digitalization, e-business, Internet of Things, big data. All this requires an appropriate process to respond to the challenges of immediacy, flexibility, repulsiveness, and mastery of the size digitalization, which need a competent human resource with a special soft skills. And thank you very much.
Yeah. You can close the presentation.
Wait.
Yeah. Thank you, Ms. Arbia, and I only have probably just one or two very small questions for you.
Is closed my presentation?
Yes, it is closed.
Okay.
Thank you. One question that comes to mind is you described so much about the automation and innovation in the port and logistics sector.
Okay.
How much of it is keeping pace with what we are doing on the ships or the people who man and operate the ships? There seems to be a big gap between the knowledge base of the seafarers when it comes to the operations which are done in ports and logistics sector. Do you think this part of the curriculum should be included, particularly for nautical officers at all levels?
Yes, of course. In my opinion, it's very important to make a cooperation or collaboration between the jobs in maritime sector and the faculty classes or the programs of courses in Maritime Institute and faculty classes, because now we are in really in a transition period, or there is many transformation in maritime sector, which is based generally in smart technology and digital. And in faculty or institute, what they study theoretical generally, and then it's a classical job. So this theory now, it doesn't really make the candidate or the diploma competent to work in maritime sector. This is my opinion, to develop more the classes in the faculty.
Particularly why I ask this question is quite a sizable number of the maritime, the seafaring personnel, when they come ashore, they also have openings in the port and logistics sector. However, before that, they are not really exposed so much as one would expect with the port operations or the logistics sector. And therefore, if this part is taken care of, it will help them for their future building as well.
I didn't. What is exactly?
Yeah, same thing. Many seafarers, particularly the nautical department, they end up working in ports and logistics sector after their seafaring career. And at that time, they don't have much of an idea what all happens in port.
Yeah. They have no idea, no theoretical idea, no educational idea, and they go to work and they get this by experience. Yes, it can be in classical job, yeah. Because now all thing is intelligent. The minimum of thing these workers will need a training in technology, in informatics. For example, in a smart ship, who is not competent in some level in technology and informatics system, he can't work in a smart ship or green ship. The next ship, it will be all automatic. So here we must prepare. The future will be more complicated. You know that job in maritime sector are hard. Even the classical job, they are hard. And now with technology, they be more and more complex. Hope I answer your question, or
yes, I get that. Thank you. We will take just 2 or 3 audience questions, and then I'll come back to Captain Himadhri Ghosh. This one small question has come addressed to Mr. David Birwadkar. Students are passing out mostly with skills which are presently applicable for on board, but why can we be trained for future ship types?
In fact,
what it simply means is that what we are being trained is for the present ones, and we are not being trained for the future ship types or future needs.
Yeah, so I think there are 2 parts of the answer. One is obviously that we keep on talking about the faculty to be updated, and they have to be aware of the newer technology coming in, the newer innovations coming in for the ships which are going to be using alternate fuels or alternate operations, etc., which we have been talking about, and that's what we need to look at platforms where this such information can be given to the faculty. Secondly, we have to obviously look at the course curriculum where we'll have to have DG and IMU involved, where they can obviously also be a little more innovative. I think a task force is what will have to be made, where there has to be a constant relook at the syllabus, and we'll have to dynamically change it as per the time. But obviously, things will have to crystallize a lot more in the spheres where innovation is being made. And once we have the structured information, then probably that can be passed from the students. But so, as I said, it has to be a process. It has to be a procedure where such things can be done in a phased manner. So it is easier said than done. And secondly, also, I would like to highlight that the kind of talent which we're getting in the shipping industry as students is barely satisfactory, because probably they're coming from tier 3, tier 4 cities. Not that they're not any less intelligent, but English being a major issue, we have problems communicating with them. And we start talking about newer technology and newer innovations, which may probably not be immediately applicable on the ships. It probably we are going a little diversified. So we'll have to look at it in a very, very objective way, and then implement it in a phased manner. Thank you.
Thank you. I think there's another question which I think I will take it to Mr. Sunil Kumar, because it specifically says, what are the trainings we need to do before joining a ship in JESCO?
Right. So, to the gentleman,
audience question, so
very pertinent. He is interested in joining JESCO. Please welcome. So, we have a training matrix basically, and it is applicable to various ranks and the side which you are in, like navigation, deck, or you are at which level, management level, operational level, and support level, that is crew. So depending on your rank and depending on the side which stream you are in, we have a training matrix. So prior joining, certain courses which are company mandatory courses, like we consider it as mandatory from the charter's perspective, from the operations perspective. So those mandatory courses you will have to do depending on, again, your rank and the stream which you are in. And once you have done those courses, of course, that will approximately take a ballpark figure, a week time. So prior joining, you will have to undergo a course, a series of courses rather, I wouldn't say course, series of courses, mostly will be online. And once you have done that, then you are fit for joining the ship. So that is how I will take your question.
Thank you. Thank you. There is another question which is actually addressed to me, but I will not answer that right now. When is the next revision of the STCW due? Before that, I think I will invite Captain Himadri Ghosh to please resume.
Am I audible now? Is better?
Yes, sir. All visible, audible, everything is good.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. And apologies for this previous thing. A joke comes to mind that, and all of us trainers who are doing this online training have often faced this. In this, you must have all heard about seances, where we see these movies and all, where people try to call the spirits of persons who have passed away. So during these trainings, when the camera is not on, we have to ask, oh, Mr. So-and-so, are you here? And then Mr. So-and-so will say, yes, I'm here now. And then, so that's how the meeting or the training starts. But anyway, lighter note. Going back to my talk, what I was trying to say is that these 4 sets of competencies which were highlighted by this team here, out of that, technical, methodological, social, and personal. I was discussing about social skills, social competencies. Then there's this personal competencies, which has also been highlighted as a requirement for the future. And one of the things you can see is motivation to learn, ability to work under pressure. All of us who have sailed in another life many years ago, as compared to the people who are sailing now, the people who are sailing now are under immense pressure. The live information is one of the things. The information on a real-time basis coming in creates a lot of pressure, which we were not accustomed to. So, and then sustainable mindset. And I will talk more about this in a bit. So trying to think about all this and trying to relate this back to the seafaring requirements, future training requirements, I have put it into 4 groups. Again, technology, developing competencies we have talked about, competencies of the future and competencies in a comprehensive manner, awareness and innovation. All the innovation that is coming into the market, we are listening to them, but how much are we actually funneling them back into our training? Yeah. Green, I think that's a big deal nowadays. It is not enough to be complied with MARPOL, but to be aware of what is coming up in the industry. It is happening in a very rapid rate, whether our people are ready to be cope with that. Yeah, people to start thinking about sustainability. It is not again not enough to be compliant with MARPOL. How much every action that we are taking on the ship, how much sustainable are those actions, so that we are leaving behind an environment which is fit for our children. Yeah, innovation. Again, in the green areas, a lot of innovation is happening, and that is IMO's primary objective, to set the rule first, and innovation will follow automatically. Digital, it is, at one time we used to always hear that, oh, no, I am good at my work, but I'm not very good with computers and all. That is a no, not acceptable nowadays. We have to be competent in that area. Soft skills is a big deal nowadays. Communication awareness, leadership, management, problem solving, teamwork, commercial proficiency, yeah, resilience and anticipation. Yeah, a word on this resilience. I think we have talked about this, and we cannot really get away without talking about COVID, a little bit about COVID. COVID world actually in the last 2 years has shown the resilience of seafarers in both ways. It has separated the men from the boys, or the, I would say, women from the girls. There have been situations when people have stayed on board for 15 months without a complaint, have done their work. There have been on occasions when people immediately after boarding have stopped working. All the companies have faced this kind of issues. With the terror of COVID, they've said, immediately we want to sign off and we want to stop working. So resilience, again, building is another skill, competency we need to develop. And of course, social competencies. And distilling all this, what are we again looking for in a business? So I have just put them in 8 short points to create mindsets, mainly lifelong learning, finding satisfaction in the job. Somehow, if you can motivate people to find satisfaction in the job, he will be motivated to learn. Unless he is motivated to learn himself, like just Sunil Kumar says, it's an impossible task to get people to come and sit on the training table. He says, I'm already trained. I'm already fully qualified and trained. Why do you need to train me? What will you train me for? Creating that culture. Again, creating that many cultures we are talking about, but creating that strong culture within him, that he can be focused about his own competencies and what he needs to do. Maintaining continuity. Every time seafarer goes through so many different kinds of training, after some time he becomes fed up. But are we maintaining a continuity in all the training that we are imparting? Are we keeping him relevant? And see, he says, yeah, so that's what I learned last time. That's what I heard last time. It's okay. It makes sense to me now. Striking a balance between hard and soft skills. Yeah, seafarers are, of course, known for their hard skills, right? All those seamanship and whatever we are doing on the job training. But then now we have to strike that balance. Are we ready for that? To be able to get those soft skills in the same seafarer who is a good, hands-on seafarer. Choosing the right yardstick. Assessments are very important. We are quite sometimes afraid to assess. It's a very, very difficult task and a very abstract kind of task. All the training that we are imparting, all the resources that are spent behind this kind of training, how do we assess the seafarer? It is in performance, it is in efficiency, finding the right yardstick, right? And of course, new skill versus old skills. Both are required. We are expecting now kind of a seafarer who is a kind of a Superman, who can still tie all those knots. At the same time, he can be an expert in electronics and all. So it's kind of developing a balance for that. Yeah. So learner's mindset, I think I've just put up here, to move from the fixed mindset to a learner's mindset. That is where our main focus is. And in the end, I would like to leave you with a thought about 1 to the power 365 still remains 1. 1.01 to the power 365 has some number. So it will be incremental. I don't think training in that sense will happen overnight, will be transformational. It will be incremental as long as we keep chipping away at it. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Can you close that presentation now so that we can see the full gallery?
Yep.
Yes. Yeah, thanks, sir. Very nice presentation. And I just have only two very small questions to ask. Out of those 8 items that you shortlisted, what is your biggest challenge?
I think, like I said, everything lies in getting that right mindset within the people. If I can get that, I can achieve anything. Any of those can be easily achievable. Everybody has got it in him. He has to be just have that learner's mindset that yes, I can learn. I am not old. I'm willing to learn, and that's about it.
And as a person heading the training at MSI, what are you doing to make your seafarers future fit?
I'm looking at baby steps. I'm looking at keeping the seafarer relevant so that he knows what is going on around him. He is mindful about what's going on around him so that, again, he develops that mindset that, okay, I can pick up some more things from here and then progress in that manner.
Thank you, sir. I think we'll come back to the audience questions. Where can we be trained for autonomous ships for training the trainers? Thanks. Too futuristic to ask a question, but then can somebody reply? Captain Ghosh only, please. Where can we be trained for autonomous ships for training the trainers?
Actually, yeah, I think it's a very interesting question, and I always think, maybe we are possibly of another generation. But yes, there are certain institutes in the UK who are actually having courses, postgraduate courses for seafarers, where they are doing this. There is no per se as a course called Train the Trainer for autonomous course ships. But there are courses which are geared towards autonomous ships, training on autonomous ships, which are basically training seafarers on a postgraduate course. And I think that will be a step if you really want to go in that direction.
The next question is, when is the next revision of STCW due? The revision of STCW as per the original plan put forward in the resolution in 2010 was that it shall be revised as far as possible every 10 years. So the 10 years came in 2020 and went away. So next, I think what we are hoping for now is that 2025, if the things go on well, it will probably be taken up in the forthcoming meeting starting on 7th of February, just now after 15 days, that as to when to set the ball rolling for revision of the STCW 2010. So as of now, earliest we can think of is 2025, but it may get delayed because even this current meeting that I'm talking about after 15 days is also online, and the online meeting has got restricted agenda. It has got restricted items to take on. Also, the time period is shorter. It only works for 3 or 3.5 hours in a day. So earliest 2025, anything later than that, I think it may be a good guess to take it as 2027 will be quite safe as on today's date, what I can, because it takes about 4 years or so to really get the revision going. There's another question. Mr. Shehab, is DNV providing any skill development training for the future? Yes,
Thank
sir.
you for the question. What I would suggest is really visit our website, dnv.com, and therefore we have a special page for the academy. What we do is there are 55 countries that we do training in. And we have as well different areas of the training for the different disciplines and activity, activity that is required. So there are like a long list and of menu that really can help you in this regard. And I'm available. Our team is available whenever you need for any assistance in this regard.
Yeah, thank you. There is one question which actually should have been in the previous session, but then I think we have got good enough panel here to take that up. What is the incentive for bright young men and women to come out to sea? Is the gap in earnings at sea and shore and entry at shore level commensurate with the loss of quality of life and risks involved? I think let Mr. Sunil Kumar answer this.
Yeah, this was a thing which I put up as a challenge. It is a challenge. It has been there from very beginning. When a chief engineer earning in terms of Indian currency 8 to 10 lakhs suddenly comes ashore in any department, as a matter of fact, which is more compensating, like technical and operation, yet he gets a setback, and after some time, unless he has torn off his CDC and thrown in the dustbin, he thinks, oh, should I go back to sea? So yeah, this is a big gap, especially from training perspective. Yet to see good compensation in that area. But it is sometimes the passion which is driving people. That some people are avid trainer, like I would say, and they want to really get into training. They don't look at the remuneration. They say that, okay, I have earned enough while I was sailing. Now I want to give it back to the industry. And such, trust me, there are people with that kind of mindset, and we are really tapping such potential, such people who are really passionate about training, and they don't look at the figures. I mean, I understand that, yes, compensation should be reasonable and good, but you look at IITs. I mean, the faculties earn 1/10 of what pass out of IIT gets. Look at the salary of people who are passing out from IIT and the faculty. There is no comparison. But then yet there are faculties who are associated with IIT because they take pride in that. So this thing to the person who asked the question, that if you are really passionate, please don't look at the wages at the moment. Yes, compensation will be there. There are good companies who are really devoting their capital, giving their capital for training, and even the trainers are well compensated. So there is no doubt about it. So please, most welcome to the world of training.
Thank you. I think Mr. Birwadkar wants to come back. Please.
Yeah, so I think the question was, is there enough incentive for bright young men and women to come out to sea, not from sea to come out for ashore?
No, both. I think that question was mixed up in both the things. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So out to sea again is the same thing, because I had visited a lot of these students when they are in the colleges, and I asked them the question, why are you here? So many of them said that they love the challenge of the sea. They love not nautical. I mean, going out to sea on ships, etc. So I think that is what will drive them, because if you look at compensation, obviously we know that compensation ashore is now comparable to what you get on the ships. In fact, in some spheres, we can also say that they earn more salary ashore. So that can no longer be an incentive, and also an incentive where we used to say in the past that we are going to visit different countries and see different places. We know the kind of life we have on the ship. We don't get any time at all to go ashore. And in fact, in senior positions, you don't even step ashore because critical operations happen on board in port. So there is no chance, or even the port side is inspecting your ship, oil major inspecting your ship, or even the superintendent inspecting your ship. So, there is no incentive for visiting ashore, unlike in the past. So those all attractions are no more there. So the only challenge or the only attraction I feel is that you have to have a passion to look at this as an adventure, where going out to sea is something which you love to do. And then only probably that is the only what will incentivize this. Maybe salary corrections or whatever has to be done, because it's a challenge it's the life lead is abnormal. I think that all will have to be looked at also in a very, very, focused manner. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think before I go to Mr. A.Shehab, may I request Arbia to please come in, and I'm just putting up a question to her regarding the commercial knowledge of the mariners. And when I say mariners, it also means the maritime faculty, which is training them. We generally observed that the STCW convention or its code gives the tables, and we talk about more of a safety and regulatory related aspects and the ordinary operations of the ship. But hardly any stress is being given on the commercial knowledge for the operation of the ship or operations of the company. You think you have something to add on that to make our mariners better qualified, not only to have a full appreciation of what they do on the ship, not just a carrier, but also of that entire supply chain. And also when they wish to come ashore in various positions in different sectors, they can actually, be better prepared for the job they will undertake.
Okay, thank you for the question. So, in my opinion, to make a training between faculty and the maritime industry means we send, for example, students to do some training or stage there to develop their knowledge. Because theory in the faculty, we don't have exactly we don't have a ship, for example, ships to make to do experience or to see, some diploma from Maritime Institute or faculty, they never visited a sea or a port, seaport. It's true in all the world, not in one region or other. So here, what I see to be update with the real and with the new transformation of maritime sector, we must make a collaboration, and we exige this collaboration to be done in the faculty. This is in my opinion to develop for the supply chain. Nowadays we will speak about blockchain also. The concept is developed even in the theoretical part and in the research papers. So it starts by management or classical management, supply chain, logistic, and now we speak about the blockchain and how we can we can protect our data, and how we can make a cybersecurity. We speak about also maritime transport contract. All this new concept that we find it in a research laboratory, and we find it in the faculty classes, need and must be complemented with training practical cases. This is what I encourage and I recommend all faculty and institute to do.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I think I'll just take one last question and address it to I think most appropriate person will be Mr. A.Shehab. Hello, sir. Can discovery of a better fuel suppress the demand of autonomous ships? This appears to be from a proper seafarer who's worried about with the seafarers be removed from the ships. He's asking, can the discovery of a better fuel suppress the demand for autonomous ships? A.Shehab, sir.
Now, this is two separate subjects. When we say better fuel, that is related to the emission and decarbonization. And when we talk about autonomous ship, that is self-managed, i.e. where you have a vessel that it sort of, it sails. I was going to comment on this earlier. That doesn't mean unmanned, by the way. So we sometimes run autonomous on ships when we go engine room unmanned situation. You have nobody there. So the engine room is just operating by itself. So therefore, autonomous vessel, let's say in the general consensus, is that for it to be sort of self-managed, self-propelled, but the shore side is actually managing it. So therefore, is this two different? It could be, you could have a autonomous vessel that will also still use maybe alternative fuel or different. However, so how many autonomous vessels, maybe we reciprocate the question on how many autonomous vessels are out there, and therefore the regulation is still really under discussion and there is a long way to go. I don't
Finally, I think,
yes. Is it a good answer?
Yes, thank you. Okay, finally, I think you were speaking in your presentation something about cyber security and mentorship. I think, can you complete that? And after that, I will invite Captain Shaukat Mukherjee to close the program.
Yeah, well, what is lacking at the moment is this mentoring and coaching, shoreside and on ship as well. So basically, we need really to revisit our, this training matrix. So this requirement of the training matrix, now we have to be more specific into areas that we know that these are the reason for incidents and accidents taking place. And we know that these are the reasons for difficulty of retaining people on board. So therefore, we need actually to invest more time. So when you have people sort of groomed to take care of their team in the manner of, branding them, getting them to be not just fit for the job as far as compliance is concerned, but actually fit for the job is to be, talented and capable really to move carrying on as well as pass it along and pulling each other with them. Yeah. So this is a combination of character that you need to develop while you are there. Now, when it comes into cybersecurity, this kind of what we call shaded areas within our everyday that, you walk into a room, you have corners that you cannot see. And that's where these risks of digital environment that we are working in, and we need to get educated. And there are basic trainings, and then not just that the ship is having the right barriers and, for it to be defending itself against any kind of cybersecurity, but we need the people also to understand the basic when it comes into, also how do you get an external assistance to help you? Yourself, like when you work with the computers, you give remote access, and then the remote access actually take care of it and they access it, and they're more specialized people. Even to that level, we have people who are incapable to deal with that situation. So you need this kind of embedding basic cybersecurity training in our training matrix.
Thank you, sir. I think one question has come way beyond the time, but we'll still take it. Captain Himadri Ghosh, please. The question is, why maritime industry does not pay well to instructors and lecturers, and why the job is considered as low yielding? Isn't this affect the quality of teaching?
I think Mr. Sunil Kumar has answered this question in part before, but I would just like to reiterate, it's end of the day, we have to see the reality. There's a lot of, it has to do with economics, it has to do with supply and demand. And then also what Mr. A.Shehab said, people who take it as a profession instead of as a job, for them things are different. So there will be always a gap between the academia and the the remuneration for the academia and the corporate. That is why people passing out from big institutions and all, they choose to go to the corporate, they choose to go to the academia. So that gap will always remain there because of many other reasons, which are, we can have a long list. But end of the day, it does not, I would say, does not really affect the teaching quality. It is not that, the best chief engineer or the best master, the most highly paid person, if he came ashore as a teacher, he would be the best teacher. That doesn't work that way. even in the sports world, the best swimmers or the best footballer does not necessarily make the best trainer. So it's a question of how much passion he has. So, and then how much he is willing to give back to the profession. So I think it does not affect the quality in that sense. But yes, if trainers, if teachers in the profession stay relevant in whatever we have talked about, that will add a lot of value. Does that somehow answer the question?
Okay, I think we'll accept it for the time being. So I think we just run out of time now.
Just want to add something. Just want to add just a small into what Mr. Himadri or Ghosh, Mr. Ghoshi has mentioned. Is basically the technology will help in changing everything that we do, whether it is on the academia level, from the head office side, also the shore side, which is the ship. The digitalization is gonna change the whole matrix, the whole system. It's just a matter of time. What we say here in DMV is that the fuel of the future will be collaboration. So there will be more reliance on video accesses, live streaming, like how we are doing now. Can you imagine that you have somebody on board the ship, superintendent, talking to his team? The management meeting that we have by law that on board the ship that they have to do this weekly management. Imagine if the superintendent is attending daily that management meeting. Imagine if you have that situation on board the ship whereby they don't know how to fit this item, this part, dismantle that or this, and then they're facing some complication of dismantling, closing, or reoperating. Talking directly to the supplier or the engine manufacturer and giving them the direct advice, and then sort of helping them and assisting them to go forward. Imagine that you have a class that it is in the college talking about a certain subject, dual fuel, or let's say subject of whatever kind of subject that is being taught, and then they have collaboration with MSI, and then from there they will have live streaming with the vessel, and therefore they can educate the cadets, or maybe somebody is doing class 2 or class 1, and therefore can you imagine how that will complete the comprehension, how that can complete the understanding. Now this is only for delivering from the shore to the ship, but then imagine that in the future you will have an oral examination that it is conducted online, and then the testing authority in the country and the ship, the person is on board the ship, and they do this oral examination and or the competency check of whatever format that it will come in the future. Just I wanted to add that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I think with this, I must thank all our panelists and hand over back to Captain Shaukat Mukherjee. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to lead this session, and it was really a very, very interactive session. Thank you so much all for this. Captain Mukherjee, please.
Sir, thank you so much for your kind words. And again, this brings us to the end of this session.